Hello viewers, I'm Ron Grant coming to you live and direct from Tortola in the Virgin Islands. A happy Tuesday to each and every one of you. You're watching 284 Media. Thank you so much for your time. The BVI USVI is now in its 50th anniversary since the first observance of the BVI USVI Friendship Day. Today I am joined by Permanent Secretary within the Premier's office, Mrs. Carolyn Stoutt-Igwe, alongside Mrs. Brenda Lettsome-tye, who is serving as a committee chair for this year's 2022 BVI USVI Friendship Day celebrations. When we return, we put this into perspective, of course, chronicling the history and background of these festivities, as well as its importance between the USVI and BVI. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break.
Freeze. Choose your mix. Choose your flavor.
Introducing a show poised to help guide modern-day men into 21st century distinguished gentlemen. It doesn't always involve suits and bow ties, but raw, real-life lessons. I'm taking you outside in the field to share the journey of some of the BVI's best and brightest men. From East End to West End, Virgin Gorda to Jos Van Dyke, not forgetting Anegada. Our Virgin Islands gentlemen are doing the damn thing. We are the movers and shakers of this generation. The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman. Season 4 by yours truly, Ron Grant. Raising a generation of greatness. Wednesdays at 8 p.m. on 284 Media.
Viewers, welcome back and thank you so much for sticking with us. As I mentioned before, we are today joined by Permanent Secretary in the Premier's office, Mrs. Carolyn Stoutt-Igwe, alongside Mrs. Brenda Lettsome-tye, who is a chairperson not a chairperson, but a committee member for this year's BVI USVI Friendship Day. Ladies, welcome to 284 Media and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Ron, for having us.
Thank you for having us.
You're most welcome. As I mentioned in the introduction, we are in our 50th anniversary of the observation since the first BVI USVI Friendship Day. P.S. Igwe, I want to begin with you. Can you provide some background into the history of observing BVI USVI Friendship Day?
Okay, back in 1972, October 21st to be exact, was the first time that the BVI USVI Friendship Day was observed. This came after the acting governor at the time issued a proclamation declaring the day as BVI USVI Friendship Day. Over the years, the observance has been alternated between the USVI and the BVI. This year, it's the BVI's turn to host the celebration, the last one being in 2019 when it was held in the US Virgin Islands. Over the years, prior to 1972, the BVI and the USVI, we have a bond of friendship because a number of residents from here have relocated there. Some from the USVI have come over here as well, but not in as high a number as those that went from the BVI to the USVI. We did a lot of trading between both islands in the earlier years, so the friendship has been there, and 1972 basically took it to another level.
Wonderful. Now, there are a lot of things that really encompass that day. Of course, we have a lot of similarities in regards to cultures. But tell me about some of the activities that happen on that day. Apart from the ceremony, I do believe that we do a gift exchange. Does that still happen?
Yes, we usually have a gift exchange taking place, usually at the luncheon that is held for the guests. So that will be taking place. Usually the governors will exchange gifts. The Premier will also extend a gift, and then we have the Lieutenant Governor and the Deputy Premier, as well as the Speaker, exchanging gifts with the Senate President from the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Okay, now this year's event will be taking place on Saturday the 22nd at the Tortola Pear Park. P.S. Igwe, put into perspective the day of activities. I know we're making some arrangement for our sister islands who wish to participate. I also know we're being encouraged to wear our territory wear. Tell us about that actual day where persons from all across the BVI and USVI will gather at the Tortola Pear Park. Okay,
thank you. In the past, BVI USVI Friendship Day was an activity where a lot of persons turn out. Because this is the 50th year, we are really encouraging the residents of the territory to come out and support. So we have asked residents of the sister islands to make contact with the district officers. Today is actually the deadline so that we can finalize our travel plans for them as they come over on Saturday. We have persons from the sister islands as well as on Tortola participating in this year's celebrations. So we want to make sure that it's a grand affair, 50 years. I'm sure, Ron, you weren't born 50 years ago.
Oh,
so
not at all.
The fact that we are here 50 years in friendship, we think that it is a significant milestone. So we are encouraging persons to come out and make the day a grand event.
Wonderful. Mrs. Lettsome-tye, I have to ask you, tell us about the speakers that we can expect to hear from during the ceremony on this upcoming Saturday.
Oh, thank you, Ron. Well, the speakers will be, first up, we'll have the Governor of the Virgin Islands, Mr. John Rankin. Then we will have the Honorable Premier, Dr. Natalia Wheatley, and followed by Honorable Albert Bryan Jr. Those are the only speakers that will be at the ceremony. The rest of the ceremony will be very cultural.
Yes.
Very cultural. We're sharing our culture, we're sharing our history, we're sharing our friendship. We have music, we have dance, we have, oh my goodness, the skit. But you know, Miss Janie Stout is a legend when it comes to skits, and her skits are always just full of culture or history. So she has one planned, actually she has written one just for this occasion. So definitely it's going to be probably about an hour and a half maximum. It'll be an hour of friendship, an hour of sharing our culture, sharing our history, sharing our music, sharing our dance, and telling our story in that skit.
And don't forget the special poem that is being written for this occasion.
That's right, and there's also a special poem that is being written for the occasion. So we have quite a few debuts that are going to happen on Saturday. And around that, Ron, we are going to have some other events happening. We're actually going to put on a mini parade.
Okay.
We have a little mini parade in the Pear Park for our guests. We will have demonstrations. We will have demonstrations of things like how to make the fish pot the traditional way. We will have demonstrations of a kiliwan. Do you know what a kiliwan is, Ron?
I am not aware. Please inform me.
A kiliwan is a device that was made to catch little trushy birds.
Interesting.
Yes, I used to know how to make it as well.
I think why have we stopped using it? Those things are a nuisance.
Well, maybe come down and learn how to do it again. We have demonstrations. So we have demonstrations, and we also have exhibits as well. We will be having some sampling of our local foods, our tarts, our cassava bread, our jabons, our pea soup. And this is for the general public who will be in attendance. So definitely, and of course, we cannot have an event without having our Fungi music.
Absolutely.
Impossible to have a Virgin Islands event without Fungi music. And we have none other than the Razor Blades, who will also be entertaining us on that day.
Ladies, thank you so much. One of the things that I'm definitely getting from this year's events, be it the 50th anniversary of the first observance, is a very interactive celebration, one where persons of all walks of life, residents can come, and for those who may not be aware of Virgin Islands culture, get an opportunity to learn and interact. P.S. Igwe, I have to go back. Recently, the Honorable Natalia D. Wheatley, alongside yourself and others, led a delegation over to the USVI. I want to talk about the strong partnership and the strong relationship that has existed for quite some time between the powers that be of the BVI and USVI. How important, from your seat as permanent secretary, the interaction and the communication, how important is it for us to continue fostering such a relationship?
Very important, Ron, because, actually going back to 1950s, was when we had an Inter-Virgin Islands conference. And back in 2004, over the years, between 1951, there were many agreements, various arrangements that were made between both sets of islands in terms of trade, education, other aspects of cooperation. Somehow between that time, it was the conference was not happening as frequent as it used to happen. So there was a call in the 90s, as you read back some of the articles, a call for the conference to be reinstated. So back in 2004, at Friendship Day held here in the BVI, former Governor Charles Turnbull, who was recently laid to rest, and former Chief Minister at the time, Dr. Orlando Smith, they signed an agreement, a MOU actually, reinstating the conference, but it became now the council, which kind of formalized it a little bit more to be able to make decisions. So committees were established, and these committees, we are actually still, some of them are still very active, working together because we have shared interests, we have areas of cooperation that we have been having over the years in different subject areas. Is very important because some of the issues that we face over here, the U.S. Virgin Islands face as well. And we've been able to have fruitful discussions at different levels as we continue to work for the government on either side. So those relationships are very important. And I was really pleased that we were able to, again, reinstate the council meeting this year because of COVID over the past 2 years. There was no Friendship Day, there was no Inter-Virgin Islands Council meeting. So just to shed a little light, usually if one territory is hosting the Inter-Virgin Islands Council, then the other territory will host Friendship Day in the same year. So that's the reason. So we are getting back on track. The Secretariat, we are especially working with the USVI Secretariat. So over the next year, we expect to be doing much more work with respect to the Inter-Virgin Islands Council now that we have the COVID restrictions lifted. So it's a very important avenue for both governments to be working together.
Thank you so much, PS, for providing that background. Now, one of the things that we mentioned is that this is the 50th anniversary of the observance of the BVI USVI Day, where the first proclamation was done. Is there any attempt to revitalize the original proclamation? Where is that? Can we see any changes moving forward if you're able to speak on that?
Well, the proclamation was basically a document declaring the day.
Okay.
And basically where the governor enjoined the country, both territories to work together. So over the years, they've been trying to do that in various aspects. At first, when Friendship Day started, if you go back and look at some of the pictures which we hope to depict in our anniversary magazine, you would note that it was more of a formal gathering at first. So we used to have guard of honor being inspected. But back in 2006, there was a move after the Inter-Virgin Islands Council was reinstated in 2004. In 2006, it was decided we should try to make the Friendship Day a little bit more of a cultural showcase. So again, that change was instituted on this side. So since that time, it has been this, I don't want to say it's a competition, but it's been like over the years, just trying to see, every time you look to see what can we expect from the USVI, what can we expect from the BVI. So we've been trying to do things differently. One year we went to Virgin Gorda on our side. Another year they went to St. John on their side. So it's been a really good opportunity to showcase different aspects of the culture through food, dance, music, entertainment, whatever it is. So over the years, it has really been a good day of camaraderie and just networking, because as different officers come from the USVI, we get an opportunity outside of the regular 9 to 5 to have a conversation with them as to how things are going in their respective areas as well.
I can understand that. And speaking of a cultural aspect, this year, as in all years, residents and friends who are attending from the BVI particularly, they're encouraged to wear their territory wear to this activity. Ladies,
Yes.
before we go, I have to ask you, you mentioned about the VI delegation and the Inter-Virgin Islands delegation, but I have to ask you, there is a very strong BVI, USVI diaspora. You mentioned about persons migrating to and from. Mrs. Lettsome-tye, being a Virgin Islander yourself, what do you say to the BVI diaspora who may be living in the USVI and perhaps for some reason they have not come home for quite some time? What do you say to that group?
I would say to them, come and see where we are now. I mean, I know some persons who left 50, 60 years ago, and as
Had it.
close as we are, have
True.
never come back. We are not the country you left 50, 60 years ago. We've
Indeed.
grown. We've grown. We've grown intellectually. We've grown culturally. We've integrated persons into our community, and we are always looking and seeking ways of becoming even better. But it's always good to have those ties. It's always good to exchange those ideas. And it really always surprises me that as close as we are, it's a half hour from Red Hook that they have never come back. Basically based on what they remember it to be. But as I said, we have grown tremendously, and we continue to grow, and we look towards a future. And I would really, really love, this could be a wonderful opportunity for them to come over and see what the BVI has become.
Wonderful. So close, but yet so far, believe it or not. P.S. Before we go, I want you to make one final appeal to the general public. Specify for us, we know it's Saturday the 22nd at the Tortola Pear Park, but what are the beginning times?
Okay, so let me make my final appeal. This year, and Ron, I don't know if you recognize, I don't know if I said earlier, but the 21st of October 1972 was when we actually started. Yes. And this year we are celebrating on the 22nd of October. Close. I don't think we could have gotten any closer to the celebration. Yeah. So I really want to encourage persons to come out and join in the celebration. We start at 10 a.m. We are asking guests to be seated at 9:45. We have Mrs. Lettsome-tye here is in charge of the program coordination on that day, and she has everything down to her seconds. So we want to make sure that everyone is in place, well seated, our guests can be seated, and let the celebration begin. We are really looking forward. The committee, I want to commend them. Dr. Lavon Bruley has been coordinating the chairperson on my behalf. Well, I'm still working with them, but she's the chair of the committee. We have members from across the government service. We even have one retired public officer who has come on board to assist us with planning for this year's event. So we are looking forward. A lot of work has gone into planning and preparing, and we encourage persons. The USVI delegation is coming over. We don't want to have a bigger delegation from the USVI than we have on island. No. So we want to encourage persons to come out, celebrate. Our children will be there. We'll have our royalties present, and we want to make sure we have tried our very best to incorporate from the young onto our senior citizens, because we want to make sure that this event encompasses all that the Virgin Islands represents. So come out, and it promises to be a wonderful day as you come and see what we have to offer as we welcome our guests. Likewise, when we go down there, they try their best to welcome us, make sure that they take good care of us for the day. So we're basically returning the favor this year. And let me just add one thing. I just wanted to say that it's quite significant that the 30th anniversary, the 40th anniversary, and now the 50th anniversary are all being held in the BVI.
Wow.
We take that for not just by, like let's say, a fluke, but we take it an opportunity and an honor for us to be the host at this significant milestone.
Totally amazing. Ladies, I want to thank you so much for your time, of course, taking time out of your very busy schedule. The 2022 BVI USVI Friendship Day takes place this Saturday, October 22nd at the Tortola Pear Park, beginning at 10 a.m. sharp. Of course, we are now in our 50th anniversary of the observance of the BVI USVI Friendship Day, and each and every citizen and resident of the BVI is employed and encouraged to come out and celebrate Virgin Islands history and heritage through our friendship with the United States Virgin Islands. Ladies, thank you so much and have a beautiful rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. Viewers, take care. I'll see you later.